to our meeting. The council has an unusually long agenda this evening, and I would like to make sure we are able to give adequate attention to all of the items up for consideration. Therefore, I thought it would be helpful before we begin to review our general meeting rules. During all parts of the meeting, it is essential that everyone gives respect to whatever person has the floor. Please refrain from comments or interruptions. This includes during the Pledge of Allegiance, council discussions, and the public hearing portion. Audience members are free to leave the meeting at their convenience, but please do so quietly. Avoid conversations in the hallway outside this chamber. We are required to keep one door open at all times, and we need to be able to hear each other. When speaking, please be respectful of everyone present. Please do not shout, call names, or use profanity. With that, Vicki, I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the roll.
Fearon.
Here.
Bonnet.
Here.
Burnett. Fareed.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Flaherty.
Here.
Yansky.
Here.
Hiley.
Here.
Keel.
Here.
Olson.
Present.
Perkins.
Here.
Wild.
Here.
Yudds.
Here.
Zop.
Here.
And now I'd like us to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So next item on the agenda is our informal public hearing. I apologize for the error on the posted agenda. It should have said that due to the length of the agenda, the public comments are limited to 20 minutes. As always, when your name is called, please come to the podium, state your name and where you live. You have 2 minutes to make your comments. And when you hear are we using a bell? Or when you hear the bell, your time is up. If possible, try not to repeat the comments of earlier speakers. And I have 10 people signed up, well, or it could be more if takes less time. Is there anyone who is signed up to speak who is not talking about the Oppidan project? So I thought I'd let them go first. Okay. Then we'll start with Dave Hiley.
Please don't start the time until he starts talking.
Hello, my name is Dave Hiley. I've been a resident of Beaver Dam for 22 years, and since everybody loves to talk about transparency, my wife is on this council. I would like to address a couple of misconceptions. Since I have actual firsthand knowledge, I can assure you that there have been no bribes or payoffs of any kind. Any suggestion of one is just slanderous. These aren't career politicians, they are fellow members of our community. Second, because I hear this a lot, is about the NDAs. Here's a fact that nobody gets right. Not a single person on this council has signed an NDA. Now, not all residents of Beaver Dam are anti-data center. There are many residents and business owners who support the data center and welcome the economic growth that it can provide our city, but they are afraid to speak up due to backlash, threats, or boycotts. We all know that there are residents who oppose the data center. I believe their concerns are well-intentioned and should be taken seriously. I empathize with those whose lives have been affected by the construction. Their voices matter, but so do the voices of the people who support the data center. While we have no need to be the most vocal, there are many of us. We may have different ideas and perspectives on how things should be done, but in the end, we all want what's best for Beaver Dam. I would like to wrap things up by thanking the council for their dedication to the city that they live in and love. It's not easy putting up with the hostile, threatening, and hateful comments, emails, and texts that are directed towards you. Thank you for all that you do.
Next up is Kara Nelson.
Good evening, council members. My name is Kara Nelson. Some of you
Familiar faces. It's been a little, some of you are familiar faces. It's been a few years since I've been in this room. But I didn't expect to be back in this building, but here I am. By now, we all understand that data centers are abstract infrastructure. They are large, resource-intensive industrial facilities that place real demands on local power, water, and land. And that means the responsibility to manage their impact falls squarely on you. No one else is going to ensure these projects deliver on the promises made when they were approved. The people you represent, especially those living closest to this development, are counting on you to protect them while guiding responsible growth. As one local resident recently said, the issue is not growth itself, but growth that is irresponsible and uncontrolled. We are already seeing the consequences with several neighboring wells running dry. Your constituents deserve better and they need you to act. This starts with transparency, clear public reporting before approval and long after construction is complete. It requires safeguarding local resources. Growth should never outpace infrastructure, and it is your role to set firm expectations for energy and water use. Zoning decisions are not just technical, they directly affect people's quality of life. Finally, community engagement must be ongoing. Listening and acting on what you hear is part of your responsibility. The reason I'm here isn't because I am for or against data centers. It's because, and I think I speak for most of us when I say this, we want them governed wisely. And so far, I haven't seen one piece of legislation that would govern them, and that is highly concerning and leaves everyone vulnerable. You don't have to say yes to everything they want. You can stand up and say, wait a minute, how can we make sure the things people are concerned about are addressed, and then set some boundaries? They have millions and billions of dollars. They can afford to have to play by our rules. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see some new ordinances that place some boundaries on what seems to be irresponsible and uncontrolled growth.
Next up is Catherine McFarland.
Hello, I'm Catherine McFarland. I've lived in Beaver Dam since 1974. I'm here for public notice that we, the people, are invoking the 9th Amendment of the United States Constitution in defense of inherent rights. The 9th Amendment of the Constitution is the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Your decision has represented a failure in process, transparency, and accountability. It has placed real and measurable burdens on residents and their property. Inherent rights belong to all citizens, and those rights have been violated. Elected officials are bound by this oath to the Constitution of the United States and the state of Wisconsin. When decisions violate residents' unalienable rights to clean water, quiet enjoyment, and security in their homes, that oath has been broken. City officials approved an AI data center without transparency or meaningful public input. Residents are now experiencing wells going dry and water pollution concerns, persistent construction noise pollution, land disruption and eminent domain impacts, flooding and drainage issues, declining property values, wildlife and habitat disruption. A 93-year-old widower recently lost water and faced $20,000 in well replacement costs, forcing relocation to assisted living. Please pause all future data center approvals and give us independent environmental and impact studies. And we would like a county-wide referendum because this impacts the entire county, not just the city of Beaver Dam. We'd like full transparency, no secrecy, no NDAs, accountability, and mitigation for all affected citizens. We, the people, demand our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Next up is Diane Holland.
Good evening. I'm Diane Holland. Each one of you have received over 300 emails with a legal notice stating the grievances of the people of the city of Beaver Dam as well as Dodge County. If you have not yet read it, then it is your duty to do so. I will read the final part of that notice. Please take final notice that it is my wish, order, and demand that we, the people, as the trust protectors of both constitutions, secure the community against the danger of maladministration. The people of Dodge County and the people of Beaver Dam demand that you, as our trustees, remove from consideration all plans to build metadata centers or any other industrial data center projects subsidized by the people. Furthermore, if you believe any of the claims in this notice are untrue, or that you have the authority to infringe and trespass on the guaranteed rights of the people, provide the constitutional provisions that grant you such powers and privileges over the people, or you agree that it doesn't exist. Any man or woman who decides to suppress this notice agrees to pay $100,000 per infraction. And any disputes by any public officials or private actors who are bound by contract to the Wisconsin Constitution agrees to have these matters heard before any arbitrator of my choice at your expense and to be bound thereby. All responses must be submitted by affidavit, point by point, sworn under the penalty of perjury within 7 days of receiving this notice. Or you agree to the acquiescence, all statements in this notice to be truth and fact. Further, you agree that you are acting with full knowledge, intent, and malice by trespassing against the people's inherent rights, and that no court shall be able to rehear this matter, but it shall stand as evidence, truth, and law in all courts of record. This notice is sent to you in peace and in the love of Christ, so that you may provide due care to those who hold all political power, we, the people. And I'll leave you with this. Do you have a prepared response? If so, you need to do so publicly to the people of Beaver Dam and Dodge County. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up is Jackson Brook.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Jackson, but you know that by now. And I'm back here again. And honestly, that's part of the problem. We keep having to come up here over and over saying the same things, but it doesn't feel like you're actually hearing us. Are you hearing us now? We want to see your faces when we speak to you. We want your attention. I've already talked about how hard this is. I've already talked about how it feels to be a high school student watching decisions get made that will shape our future, while feeling like we're an afterthought. And yet, here I am again because nothing seems to change. Tonight, I brought another high school student with me and a few more. I'm also working to educate more students about this proposed second data center. We're paying attention. We are organizing. We are trying to understand something that, frankly, we shouldn't have to fight this hard just to be included in. High school is supposed to be a time where we get to be kids, where we focus on school, friends, sports, memories. Instead, we're spending our time preparing statements, coming to meetings, and pushing just to be acknowledged. That's not normal, and it's not right. We're not here because we want to be. We're here because we feel like we have no choice. And that should concern you. This decision about a second data center isn't small. It's not temporary. It's something we will have to live with. But I've said that before. Are you going to listen this time? Or maybe you'll think we will move on, but we won't move on. We'll still be here, living with the consequences. So when we ask you to slow down, to think long-term, to actually consider what this means for the future, to do research before a decision, not research from Meta, but research on what your citizens want, which I think is a vote, likely, that will allow citizens to decide on their own future. We're not asking for a favor, we're asking for responsibility, because right now, it feels like we're the ones carrying that responsibility. We shouldn't have to keep coming back up here just to be heard, but until we are, we will. Thank you.
The children.
Next up is Mark Brzezinski.
Follow those. Mark Brzezinski. Just to be clear, my family came here in 1869. I have never left this town. I am a resident. The land that you annexed in was never the city of Beaver Dam's property, nor the town of Beaver Dam's property. It was the town of Trenton. And I urge all of you to drive out there and look at the monstrosity that is being built. I mean, not just one road. Go all the way around it. Look at the devastation. The Reeder Farm is having a substation right across the street from their house. That's a 220 megawatt substation. I said it before, it is your duty to protect us, the people first, our land and our resources before billion and trillion dollar companies. We must not allow another parasite company to come in and destroy more of our land and our resources. I sent you all an email talking about the CO2 emissions that the Portage Power Plant is now going to be emitting. Did any of you read that? Did any of you do the research on that? The astronomical amount of acreage, 500,000 to 1.2 million acres of new trees to be planted to take up that CO2. In 10 to 15 years, that will finally take effect from those trees. How many of you sitting here will still be living here or alive in 15 to 20 years when that's all said and done and it can start helping our planet out again? Since the creation of this planet, there's been two things that could kill this planet: the planet itself and the universe, until human beings came to tuition. We are slowly suffocating this planet. We are the third and only species to ever survive on this planet to be able to kill this planet. Do not allow more decisions to kill our planet, to kill our people, our land, our resources.
Next up is Kylie Miller.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Kylie Miller, and I'm a member of the Alliant Energy team. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and to speak with you, and thank you for the hard work you're doing on behalf of the people of Beaver Dam. Across Wisconsin, communities are having important conversations about growth. When new businesses come in or existing employers expand, it's natural for people to ask questions. What does that mean for energy costs, reliability, and local infrastructure? At Alliant, we believe growth is good for communities such as Beaver Dam when it's planned carefully and done with customers in mind. Reliable, affordable energy supports local employers, creates jobs, and helps communities compete for investment. Beaver Dam's Commerce Park is a strong example of that kind of proactive planning. It was designed to be shovel-ready, with the infrastructure needed to attract major employers and long-term investment. A key part of Alliant's role is protecting existing customers as that growth occurs. Our commitment is simple. If you use energy, you pay for the infrastructure needed to serve you. New large energy users pay for the grid investments required to support their growth. And reliability for existing customers always comes first.
Out of order, you need to be silent when someone else has the floor, or you will be asked to leave.
When growth is structured this way, it strengthens the energy system. As more customers use the grid, fixed infrastructure costs are spread across a broader base. And it also allows for us to invest more quickly in modern infrastructure that improves reliability and resilience for everyone. We plan years ahead to make sure the system can meet this demand, and we rely on a diverse mix of energy resources, including renewables. Thank you.
Out of order. Okay, we have 4 minutes left in the public hearing portion. Next up is Wayne Schneider.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Schneider. I've lived here since 1969. And I have a letter here from Jody Seestag in response to Andrew Meehan's question about us being uninformed. Basically, you are uninformed. I would love to hear your thoughts on the pros of having Meta in Beaver Dam as well. If providing information on all the tax dollars Meta is supposed to bring in please be ensured to include the full story about the financial situation they have us in, like the fact that $110 million goes right back to Meta to build their infrastructure, while the TID is open. There is no guarantee they'll be here to pay a single dollar into the general fund to give taxpayers any relief ever. In the meantime, it's the residents' property taxes that will go up because of Meta coming in and being put in the TID. From what I understand, any tax increase on even a portion of the $1 billion in new construction will either need to be passed on to the residents or the city forgoes that option forever. I'm sure the people who are already being affected by this monstrosity coming in while their good neighbor, Meta, and the city shirk any responsibility would love some good news as to what the pros are of having them here. People whose wells have gone dry or have had to move their formerly independent elderly people into assisted living because they have no water, or whose water is undrinkable, or the family of the young mother who was killed by a construction truck, or the many plummeted because they live nearby. Property values have value that is not available any longer. Explain to anyone who gets their electricity from Alliant Energy.
Excuse me, sir, your time is up. I don't know if you
I'm
heard
not
the
done.
bell. You
You
are
give-
done. You had 2 minutes.
I want to make a statement.
You are done. Sit down, please.
You've allowed us in the last 3 months, 60
Sit
minutes,
down, please.
and you haven't completed anything or applied or answered anything. Oh, by the way, when you wake up Wednesday morning, if some of you are disappointed, you'll know why.
Okay, there are other people signed up, but there is only 1 minute left. So James Blazer, if you would like to come up and speak for 1 minute, you may.
2 minutes per, that's what it said online. 20 minutes.
We have 20 minutes and 20 minutes has passed.
Thank you. I'll keep mine brief as it is. My name is James Blazer. I work at the data center as a union carpenter. I can't speak on the data center itself, but I can speak on the economical impact of the data center. There is going to be roughly 1,000 carpenters, electricians, pipe fitters, everybody working at that job site, making about $1.5 million to $2 million take home a week. That money is going back into your communities from us working there and putting that, yes, it is.
Point of order, you need,
I spend a lot of money
This-
in this community every single day. buying
this,
food.
the public portion of the meeting is over. We are going to move on. Thank you, Mr.
We get 20 minutes. That's all you gave us. We get 20 minutes.
20 minutes has passed. 20 minutes has passed. If you cannot remain silent, you will be asked to leave.
You should leave.
Sean Bradley,
None of you are going.
Sean Bradley, you need to leave.
Not just yours. You don't get to make the own.
Sean Bradley, you need to leave. Would you please escort him out?
Can't even do what you said you were gonna do, and you guys sit up there and
Sean, you need to leave.
especially you, Larry, to sit there, not spending, sure, Fred, Steve, please don't push it.
Don't touch him. Let me not know. Keep your hands off him.
It's not right.
Next item on the agenda are announcements. Council members, any announcements? The only announcement that I have is just a reminder, Alders, that our next meeting is a regularly scheduled meeting on Monday, April 20th. But then, as our tradition, the Tuesday That Tuesday, the 21st, is our inaugural meeting where we'll be swearing in all new council members and potentially looking at an agenda item for that meeting as well. So just make sure you mark your calendars because Tuesday's an unusual night for us to meet. Okay, any other announcements? Okay, next up, the March 30th Common Council minutes will be approved along with tonight's minutes at our April 20th meeting, so we can skip that. And that brings us to our city administrator report.
I have two quick things to report. We've scheduled a special city council meeting on May 12th at 6:30 p.m. at the Department of Public Works. We're going to be doing some council training and developing our list of top priorities for 26-27 calendar year. And then the second announcement is there is an Earth Day tree planting ceremony downtown at 10:30 a.m. on April 25th. The theme will be Beavers, our ecological partners. So please listen for announcements on the radio and in the Daily Citizen for additional details. Thank you.
Bobby,
Next up,
Larry, what time is that meeting on the 12th?
We're planning it for 6:30 p.m.
Thank you.
okay, next up are communications. Clerk, do we have any communications?
We have no communications tonight.
Very good. Next up, we have the approval of the bills between March 13th and April 2nd in the amount of $771,750.58. Can I get a motion? Alder Zopp?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the bills as presented.
Thank you, Alder Zopp. And a second, Alder Burnett.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of paying the bills, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bills will be paid. Next up, we have a presentation on the status of our city assessments and trends by Kyle Cabe from Marketing and Account Development Manager for Accurate Assessors, who is the city's assessment company.
Hi, thank you for having me here today. My name is Kyle and I've been with Accurate for 6 years. Tonight, I will give you a short presentation on 26 assessments and also trends that we've seen in the last 5 years throughout Beaver Dam. We'll start with a little bit of history from Accurate appraisal, and then we'll move on to Beaver Dam assessment history. And then we'll talk about Dodge County as well and kind of see if Dodge County is matching what we're seeing in Beaver Dam. We'll talk a little bit about new construction and then what we're looking at for the 2026 assessments and important dates, and then a potential full revaluation, and then just some contact information from Accurate after that. Accurate was founded in 2000. And we started working with the city of Beaver Dam in 2001. We've grown a little bit since then. We now have 110 municipalities that we serve and 40 dedicated employees. One of the things that we were founded on was trying to get data out to the public so that it's free and easy to access. In this new age and era that we're in, we now have property information online. We have roll books online. We also have our sales that we use to determine the changes in values online as well in what we call our sales analysis. We are looking towards the future in using more technology in every aspect of what we do. We were one of the first to get rid of paper out in the field and start to use computers in the field. So every update that we make goes right into our system and is available for viewing online. There are still some assessors who take paper out into the field, make the changes on paper, bring the paper back, and then enter them into a computer. And our next steps over these next couple of years we're looking at really trying to educate on assessments, what it means for the public, as well as producing marketing so that residents know when open books are, when board of reviews are, what it means when values go up, what kind of trends we're seeing, just like we're doing today. Why do we assess or reassess every year in the city of Beaver Dam? First and foremost, these annual reassessments are to ensure that property taxes remain proportional to the current value of each property. This is vital for maintaining fairness and equity across the board. If assessments are left unchanged, it could result in an unfair distribution of taxes, where some property owners pay more than their fair share while others pay less. This annual market update process helps avoid such discrepancies and ensure everyone contributes fairly. I have a quick example on kind of why, if you go back, I'm sorry. I have a quick example on kind of what that means for a sale. So if you have two identical houses, house A and house B, same style, similar specs, both assessed at $300,000. If each of them sells in their valid sales, house A sells for $330, house B sells for $295. In a market update system every year like you're currently in, that following year, house A would go to $330, house B would go to $295. They would be set to sale price as is required in an update year on a valid sale. If you were in a maintenance type cycle where you're not updating the values every single year, both houses would remain at $300,000, even though one sold for $330 and one sold for $295. That sale would not be reflected until the next market update. So there could be multiple years of house A and house B paying the same amount in taxes, even though their sales were different. So reassessing properties regularly allows us to account for changes in the market, property conditions, and ensuring that the tax burden is shared equally. Next, we'll talk a little bit about the assessment history. We've seen very strong growth, consistent and steady increases for year to year. The orange line represents residential homes and their percentage increase since 2020. We can see that large increase there, that big spike. That's from COVID, when everybody was pretty much sent home. That work from home, people realized that they're pretty cramped and wanted a little more space. They went out, they bought bigger houses so that they had more room from work from home. And at the same time, you see that large dip in the blue, and that's commercial. The commercial increases didn't go up as much during that time because people weren't out of the homes and weren't working as much in that commercial setting or that office setting. You'll see the blue then spikes quite a bit. That is because that is a back to work. Residents are going back to offices, back to the commercial sector. And you see kind of an influx in commercial sales in building commercial type properties as well. And that green line in the middle there is just the overall increase if you're including both commercial and sale. So we do see quite a bump because of COVID. And then that dip that you see in the orange is partly because of high interest rates, but it's also the market kind of stabilizing itself after that big COVID bump. When discussing the history of Dodge County, it's important to emphasize trends that we've seen over the past few years. Interest rates have affected home sales, however, not in the way that we anticipated. If you can see the first graph, the sales graph, the sales went down quite a bit. Part of that is because of the COVID bump, but part of it also is interest rates kind of skyrocketed around that time. We thought we would see a little bit of a decline in house prices as well, but it turns out that was not the case. As you can see in the bottom graph, the median home sale price continued to rise through that and is still rising right now as well. With that difference between supply and demand. The steady growth reflects a broader trend that we've seen across Wisconsin. For instance, Beaver Dam experienced an average increase of 52.55% in home prices over the last 5 years, while Wisconsin as a whole has seen similar increases, averaging around 55%. This demonstrates that Dodge County and Beaver Dam are not alone in experiencing these changes, and it is a larger Wisconsin pattern. Next, we'll look at new construction as it plays a pivotal role in the landscape of Beaver Dam's development. On the residential side, we see steady increases in new construction 4 out of the last 5 years. This trend highlights ongoing growth and positive outlook in our region. Why does it matter? Well, it boosts the local economy by funding essential services without the need to increase taxes. Something that benefits us all. Plus, it signals robust demand and indicating a thriving community. We expect the largest increase in commercial new construction over the last 5 years for 2026. We expect it to be in the high 30 million range, which would be above what the graph shows right now for 2025 back through 2020. We also are projecting over 10 million in residential new construction for the second year in a row. These developments are not just numbers on a screen. They're indicative of a vibrant, healthy, and expanding community. So next, I want to talk a little bit about the 2026 assessments. We're estimating an average increase of approximately 7% for residential properties and 15% for commercial properties. These changes are supported by market data, with residential values driven primarily by sales activity and commercial values influenced both by sales as well as income and expense. In total, we analyzed about 238 valid residential sales to arrive at these numbers and 22 commercial sales. Assessment notices are expected to arrive in mailboxes the week of April 17th. Our open book will be held in person May 4th from 2 to 4. If you are unable to attend in person, we also provide a virtual open book where residents can go online. They fill out a form and select email response, and then an assessor emails them back, so they don't have to take off work to show up in person. They can just respond back and forth to us via email, which has worked out really well. As we know, sometimes those open book in persons don't fall on a time that works perfect for everybody. So this allows as many residents to have communications with assessors as possible. You can also reach our office directly at 920-749-8098 or beaverdamcity@accurateassessor.com. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about a full revaluation and when is the right time. It's important to understand that both timing and the rationale behind it are important. The state of Wisconsin recommends a full market revaluation be conducted every 10 years. This timeline ensures that property data remains current. Our last full value revaluation was carried out in 2017. This was part of a larger contract. It was a 4-year contract where 25% of the municipality was walked through each year over that 4-year period. So that last walkthrough was in 2017. We do feel that it is important time to start thinking about either a full revaluation or an exterior revaluation to make sure all data remains current and keeps up with the Department of Revenue guidelines. And then this last slide here, I just want to provide our number, the email for the city, beaverdamcity@accurateassessor.com, and then our website. It has more detailed information, including open book appointments, property data, sales analysis, and education as well.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. McCabe. Any questions before we let him go? Alder Wild?
I do have one, and maybe maybe your tenure thing covers it, but what you're really saying is you don't do any boots on the ground assessments. Everything is by computer except for that 10-year reevaluation.
Nope. We do have field staff every year that come through Beaver Dam. Especially the new construction, which would be around January 1st, we come in. And then we also do a field work period where we come in and walk through and look at all properties that had building permits. Any property that's called and asks us to go through it, as well as sales and other things that may have been taken out that we look at. The only time that we would go through every single property is in that full revaluation. And that is
Time.
yeah, that's something where it's nice to split it up over the life of a contract. It allows residents to have more time to be able to book an appointment. It also allows the community to spread out the cost over that entire contract instead of just 1 year.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Alder Flaherty.
Just a curious question.
Sure.
Said the last full revaluation was 2017.
Mhm.
10 years puts that in 2027. Is there a reason it's coming up a year early? Was there something that put that out for review?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up. Our contract is up at the end of the year, so I know contract discussions will start. And I just wanted to make everyone aware that we have, or it will be 10 years since the last one. Yep.
Good. Any other questions? Alder's up.
I think I recall back in 2017, is that where you're going door to door to ask entry into homes and properties and reassess like the room count, bathroom count, things like that?
Yes, if a full revaluation is something that the city of Beaver Dam wants to do, that's what that would entail. If it's an exterior revaluation, we would go walk around the house, measure decks and patios and things like that, and make sure that everything that we can see matches our data that we currently have. We would still ask the resident if there's anything that has changed or anything that they want us to see. That would be for exterior. So for a full revaluation to take place, it would be those interior walks.
Thank you.
Any last questions? Very good. Thank you, Mr. McCabe. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, we will be hearing a presentation on our recent salary survey by Rachel King, Project Manager at MGT. I know, Larry, do you want to give an intro?
Certainly. And I believe Todd, Rachel should be on Zoom to go through a slide PowerPoint. The city council was pursuing a wage grid implementation in 23, 24, and 25. That transition it wasn't at a point where we could implement that in 25. And since so much time had already passed, we wanted to do a simple salary survey to see what positions the city has that may have fallen out of compliance or out of our comparables. And so we hired MGT and Rachel King to help with that study. Is Rachel on?
I am. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Rachel, do you want to share your PowerPoint?
Yes, I would love to.
I'll just hand over the floor then, Rachel, and ask you to kind of go through a brief presentation on how the study was completed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Larry. Good evening, everyone. I am sharing my screen. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Off to a good start. Like I said, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Rachel King. I am a project manager with MGT. I had the pleasure of working with the city on this study. I'll be presenting our review and recommendation for the employee compensation structure. Our goal overall with this was just to ensure that salaries are competitive, equitable, and aligned with current market trends. So I have a really brief kind of overview, and then we'll end it with questions. We'll talk about the scope of work, kind of what the study entailed, the market survey, which is how we gathered that data from those peers, our recommendations, the implementation of those recommendations, future administration, and then, like I had mentioned just a second ago, wrapping it up with questions. In terms of scope of work, it entailed a study preparation as well as a couple of project meetings. We met to review the scope of work, really identify comparable communities, and then develop that market survey, which we distributed to those comparable communities. And then internally, our team analyzed that market data. We prepared recommendations. We met with administration to review that data and then finalize those recommendations. You all have a draft report. This, of course, is the presentation. And then if there are any recommendations, revisions, additions, then we'll incorporate that into the finalized report. So one of the very first things that we have to do is identify comparable communities. You can see this in Appendix A. We have a really great methodology for identifying those communities. But it's really important when you're selecting those communities that serve as comparables to use particular criteria to evaluate the other communities just to ensure that they're chosen as comparables and the best comparables. We looked at 7 criteria or kind of categories, which are listed on this slide. These were selected to mirror important criteria such as similar financial conditions, population, and proximity. So we first looked at population, total equalized value in the millions, property tax levy per capita, net basic spending per capita, total shared revenue in the thousands, per capita debt, as well as proximity. So really, how close is it within a commutable distance? And then here on this slide, we reflected those peers. Again, if you want to take a closer look at kind of how we determine those, you can check out Appendix A. But we first considered all cities and villages in Washington, a whole list of these counties that are listed here on this slide. And when we looked at those counties, we looked at those that had a population between 5,500 and 4,500 when we analyzed the communities in these counties listed here. Several additional communities outside of these parameters were suggested by the City Council, and they were also analyzed for comparability. The ones bolded here responded directly to our survey, or they supplied us with a copy of their compensation plan as well as union contracts. 15 total peers were sent this survey. 12 directly responded. However, we were able to gather data for all 15. Even though 3 were unresponsive, our team was able to gather research and fill in some missing gaps. But here you can see that we've identified 15 who, on the comparability scale, when we looked at those 7 criteria, the population, EAV, they really ranked up higher and were scored very similar to you all. So they're going to be your best comparables. Once we identified those comparable communities, we then created a market survey that we sent out to them. And then when we gather that salary data, we begin by clearly defining each position. So this just ensures that the information we collect corresponds precisely to the responsibilities and expectations of the position. This helps us reduce errors or mismatched comparisons. So each position had a very brief summary. That way, when the peers were going through and completing it, they were making the appropriate matches within their organization. Once the data was collected, it was carefully reviewed to verify that it was relevant and accurate for the position surveyed. This is often called data scrubbing. So our team went through, we did some data scrubbing as well as administration, re-reviewed that data just to make sure that it really was an apples to apples comparison. This helped ensure that any outliers or outdated figures did not distort that market data that we gathered. When we look at that, you'll see in, I believe it's Appendix B, where we gathered that data, we asked for salary ranges, so the minimum and the maximum, and then we also gathered actual salaries. When we're developing our recommendations, we're looking at salary ranges as that primary method for kind of gathering the data as well as providing a broader view of the compensation trends. Ranges do capture variations across experience levels, job tenure, and organizational size, offering a more complete perspective rather than a single point figure. If you were to look at just the actual salary figures, they often reflect unique circumstances. Sometimes that could be individual negotiations, internal pay adjustments, tenure, things of that nature. So when we're looking at the market and really trying to determine what the market is paying for a position, those ranges are the best reflector. If someone were to leave an organization and go to another organization, that minimum likely would be where they would start at. So again, looking at that as a better representation of the market as opposed to just analyzing the actuals. And then all of the salary information that we collected is as of January and February of this year, so it is incredibly current. Once we analyzed that data, then we worked with the city to recommend compensating employees at the 60th percentile. To clarify, percentiles show how salaries compare to other communities. So for example, the 50th percentile represents the median. Half of your peers pay below, half of your peers pay above. It's the true median. In these types of studies, that's what we would kind of, acknowledge as the market is going to be your 50th percentile. The 60th percentile is roughly 10% above kind of that 50th percentile, so the median. It's slightly more competitive when we're looking at and analyzing the 50th and so on and so forth. Just work together at recommending that 60th percentile that's more aligns with the current compensation philosophy. So that's why you'll see that 60th percentile here. Our recommendation is to update any salaries for positions that fall below the market minimum. So doing that would strengthen the city's overall compensation structure, of course, helping attract and retain talent and supporting equitable pay practices across all roles. Table 1, which you can see in the report, I can also bring up if you'd like, but it consolidates all compensation data at the 60th percentile. So you can see what that market data reflects. And then it highlights the recommended adjustments. And these recommendations align with the market benchmarks, ensuring that the city remains competitive while also maintaining fairness and consistency in pay. So just the implementation of recommendations. We do recommend any employee who is currently below the market minimum should have their pay increased to that market minimum. Anyone who is within the market range, so they're not falling below the minimum, they're within that range, they should maintain their current pay with no changes. And then anyone who is above the market maximum, so again, we collected a whole host of data on that table 1, you'll see minimum and maximum ranges. Anyone who's above that maximum, much like the within the market range, we recommend that they just maintain their current pay with no changes. And then the last slide here, just in terms of future administration, we always recommend to maintain competitive pay, conducting an annual review of the city's salaries. This again ensures that compensation remains aligned with the market and reflects changes over time. Until a reevaluation is needed, we suggest continuing to use the current set of comparable communities as benchmarks. Ordinarily, those are going to be good for about 5 to 7 years. Because we look at that specific 7-point criteria, they're really, really good peers. Unless anything really extreme changes, those are going to be very good peers to use for about 5 years. And then we also recommend looking at CPI to account for any inflation or cost of living changes. Based on these reviews, both in the market as well as CPI, maybe adjusting pay ranges to reflect those current market trends if adjustments are needed when appropriate. And that is my last slide. I'd love to open it up to any questions, and I can bring up a table if you'd like as well.
So council members, what questions do you have? I know it's a lot to take in. So,
I have a question.
any questions for Rachel?
I do.
Jen?
We previously saw this in 2 years ago. Was that shown to her as well? What it came up with, and the statistics that we originally started with were not as accurate as what we thought, and now we believe this is more of an accurate appraisal?
Let me maybe clarify that. The initial proposal was to pursue a wage grid with steps for employees. That's something that we're gonna need to revisit over the next year or two. And rather than asking our employees to wait another year or two, I decided let's just do a salary survey and find out where we are in comparison to other communities. So I would argue that a wage grid is something different than what we're doing here. This is just the salary survey to make sure that we're in line with what others are paying.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Alder Zopp?
I remember seeing it somewhere where job titles were part of this too, right? So there are recommendations to adjust job titles to match market terms, or are they promotions, or is it, what is it
Well,
exactly?
I guess the answer could vary from position to position. We have some positions that are acting in a capacity that would justify a different title. We should either have those employees not do all of that work and pay them for a lesser title, or promote them to the new title, and then we'd have to compensate them accordingly. So that probably warrants a greater discussion when you start talking about individual titles. But there is a page in your packet that specifically identifies what titles are recommended for changes. And that does come from MGT. It's page 7 of the report. Yep.
Good. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Ms. King, and we will use your information.
Yes, I want to say it was MGT did a fantastic job putting all this together, and Ms. King did a great job.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Okay, next up, we move on to ordinances. First up is ordinance number 6.
Ordinance number 6-2026, an ordinance rezoning parcel number 206-1214-2212-002, located at W8219 Hemlock Road, from single-family residential district to light manufacturing district. This is a second reading and public hearing.
Okay, because this is the second reading of this ordinance, we will be holding a public hearing. Anyone who would like to speak specifically about the rezoning of this parcel, that's the only comments that are allowed in this particular public hearing. So can I see the hands of those who wish to speak to council about this rezoning? Sean Bradley, you need to leave.
I'm being kicked out.
That's, yes, you were asked to leave previously.
So I can't speak on
You were,
that at all.
yes.
So when can I come back and speak on anything? That's the question I have. What I want to know.
You cannot speak this evening.
This man over here from Alliant Energy gets to take up our time.
Sean, you need to leave.
Great. Great community we have here.
So once again, can I see the hands of those who wish to speak to council specifically about this rezoning? 1, 2 people, 3 people? Okay, we'll start with, I'm sorry, I don't, Kara, we'll start with you.
I understand that this rezoning is part of a larger development that's going to be going on. I'll try to keep it specific to just the rezoning. I guess my concern is that the council has had this TID open since 2016, and there hasn't been action on this until now.
Okay, this portion of the meeting has nothing to do with the TID. It has to do with rezoning this property from residential to light manufacturing.
Okay, I guess I don't understand. I'll back up. I don't understand why the city hasn't done anything to this property. While it's been in the ownership of the city. I think the city bought it in 2021, perhaps 2022. Why is it all of a sudden we need to do something with it? Is it just because we have somebody who wants to come in and develop it? I don't know. It's just it just seems odd that it's been sitting there with with nothing to do. And I guess I have a procedural question too. In the posting on the Facebook page, you had said that public comment for the informal public comment section was going to be limited to 2 minutes, and 20 minutes total. I just want to make sure that does not apply to the public hearing for ordinances.
Correct. That's because ordinances, it's a very narrow scope of what you can talk about.
Sure, I would recommend that anybody who wants to talk about anything
Okay, well,
related to the agenda item, you could talk their ear off all night if you wanted.
well, we have 2 other people who raised their hands. So, Mark, you want to come up and speak about, again, strictly about rezoning?
So I want to know the rezoning, light manufacturing. Is the only thing we're talking about is rezoning for light manufacturing. Why I'm asking this is I own a design and construction company, and I'm looking for some land to put my building on. Would I be able to purchase this land to put my construction company on this land, even though it's zoned light manufacturing, right? Am I speaking right? I don't, is it zone light? You want it to be zone light manufacturing. So can my design and construction company purchase the land from the city of Beaver Dam, a lifelong resident here, to put my business on there, even though it's a construction company? Do we have to have another rezone, or can we broader this rezoning to encompass more businesses than just a particular light manufacturing? And I don't know if I fall under a light manufacturing since I'm not manufacturing a product on site. Can we open it up to a broader based rezoning to strictly a commercial, or does it have to be, why does it have to be light manufacturing?
I believe the rest of the industrial park is zoned light industrial. So this would match the rest of the industrial park. That was the intent when the land was purchased, was to add it to the current industrial park. And so the zoning is what is currently the rest of the industrial park.
So can we add on to the zoning so it's not so narrow focused on one portion of commercial business? Can it handle other than light commercial or light manufacturing? I guess I'm asking if I purchase land and I put a bid into the land, is it going to be zoned for my design and construction company? Fairway Design and Construction.
Many businesses fall under light industrial zoning designation. Many different businesses.
Many different businesses. Okay, I guess I would like to see clarification on maybe if you guys do vote on this, we got to have a list of what or businesses can go, because it seems my eyes seem very narrow-minded, visioned on just a light manufacturing versus a broad spectrum of what could be put there, even though the power plant is not light manufacturing, that's a retail store, and I believe that is zone light commercial or light manufacturing as well, correct? I don't know. I guess that's why I'm asking you guys, but if it is.
I can tell you light manufacturing is defined in section 70.89 if you're inquiring as to whether your business could operate in a light manufacturing zone.
Okay. All right, that was my question. I just wanted to check that out. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's see, the last person who raised their hand was Sheriff Schmidt.
Good evening. Not the sheriff tonight. Well, at least while I'm talking to you. I am the chair of Beaver Dam Rotary's community service projects, and as part of that, Beaver Dam Rotary Lights. And so what I wanted to let you know is Beaver Dam Rotary Club has been a tenant at this address for the last couple of years. That's where we have stored all of our Christmas lights. So when I learned of this change, obviously that was something of a bit of a disappointment. I knew it was something that was a possibility, but it is certainly something that I knew could be happening. And so after it happened, I reached out to the proposed owner and said, hey, you've displaced us. And I just want to let you know, none of you know this here tonight, and I wanted you to all know that they have indicated that they will take care of us. And we will have a place for all of those light storage. I felt it was important to come and talk to you tonight to let you know all of that, because I'm the only one that's really been a tenant out there outside the city using some of that property. And so I felt it was important for you to know that we do have a place to go. I have not taken a position on the proposed occupant or across the street. It is what it is. I just simply wanted you to let you know that fact, so that when you're making this decision, it does not impact Rotary or Rotary Lights. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So now I need, Ms. Radusky, did you raise your hand when I asked
I
for
did.
speakers? Oh, I'm sorry. I must not have seen your hand. Okay, go ahead.
So I have a question of whether this 8.08 acres is going to be put out to public bid.
The rezoning has nothing to do with the sale of the property. It's just rezoning.
Well, I mean, you said that it doesn't have anything to do with the TID, but it's right here in page 3 of Ayler's report on TID 7 that you want to annex this into TID 7 as part of that Oppidan project. So yeah,
That's a separate action, but
right,
this-
it's separate, but it's connected.
but right now we're just talking about the rezoning.
So if it
So do
is
you have a
rezoned
comment about the
into
rezoning?
this light manufacturing, is it going to be out for public bid?
There's no connection between a zoning decision and the
So you
sale
can't
of the
answer it.
property. No, I'm saying there's
Okay.
no connection, so no.
Okay. And what rights do we as citizens have to purchase it before it would get annexed?
Again, zoning and purchase are separate processes. They're not related. So any other questions?
Well, yeah, I mean, because I have some people that would like to take it over, and but don't want it annexed in. And I think it would have been a great location for the fire station for the second one that was proposed. There's already, you know, a very nice heated pull shed up there that could temporarily house some fire trucks and ambulances to improve our response times to the north end of Beaver Dam. Certainly to the trailer park where there's lots of calls. So I'm not, I guess I'm speaking against the rezoning because I see where it's leading, and that rezoning is going into TID 7. So I asked to vote no.
Okay, thank you. Now, if I could get a motion on this ordinance, we could have a discussion. Alder Yads?
I'll make that motion to forward it.
Okay, can I get a second? Alder Fisher?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the rezoning of this parcel from single family to light manufacturing. Questions or comments, Alders? Alder Flaherty.
Just for the sake of putting it out here and making it clear, what prompted the rezoning of these two parcels?
The rezoning of the parcels is prompted by the process of establishing the regulatory structure that would be necessary to have an Oppidan data center in this location. Now it has been the long-term plan to do this at some point. It hadn't been done yet. And so that's what triggered it.
Very good. I would have guessed it was something to avoid spot zoning or something of that nature. Thank you.
Okay, Alders, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we're ready to call the roll.
Bierman,
Yay.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Paris,
No.
Fisher,
Aye.
Flaherty,
No.
Gansky,
Aye.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zop.
Aye.
So the ordinance carries. Next up is ordinance number 7.
Ordinance number 7-2026, an ordinance amending chapter 34, article 2, division 2, recycling of the Beaver Dam Municipal Code, second reading and public hearing.
And again, is there anyone present who would like to speak about the changes to our recycling code? Okay, seeing none, then we will close the public hearing on this ordinance. And can I get a motion for discussion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Alder Burnett. And a second? Alder Perkins?
Second.
Very good. Questions or comments? I believe this went through ops at our last, not tonight, but the previous meeting. I don't know if there are any questions from admin members about what happened at ops. Joe, do you want to just give a quick summary of what it is?
We had several questions regarding clarification, but as with the amendments that were suggested, there were really no issues.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Paris,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Gansky,
Aye.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Bierman.
Aye.
And the resolution, or excuse me, the ordinance carries. Next up, we come to resolutions. First is resolution number 18.
Resolution number 18-2026, a resolution approving an amendment to the project plan and boundaries of tax incremental district number 7, city of Beaver Dam, Wisconsin.
Thank you, Vicky. We have with us Mr. Harry Allen from Ehlers who can speak to this resolution.
Good evening, everybody. Harry Allen with Ehlers. So tonight, I'm just going to give you some high-level comments here on what is and is not changing with the proposed amendment to tax increment district number 7. So just starting here with what isn't going to change if council does adopt this resolution tonight. Primarily, the district is an existing district on the north end of town. It was created as an industrial type district, which means it had a 20-year life from that date it was created. So nothing about the length of the district as a whole or the period of time that you can spend money within the district would change from this amendment. So it was created back in 2016. It is required to terminate with that 2037 collection. And then the last date that the city can spend new money within the district is 2031. So all of that is going to stay the same with the amendment. What would change is this is a twofold amendment. So the first change is wrapping in additional territory into the tax increment district. So the proposal is to add in 2 parcels, one that is southeast of the district and one that is northeast of the district. The one on the southeast was not included at the time the district was created because it was in the town. This is recently annexed. I can't speak to why the northeast parcel was not included at point of district creation as we did not work with the city at that point. So in total, across the 2 acres, or 2 parcels, that's around 11.6 acres of territory being added. There is a finding here that at least 50% of the area needs to be zoned and suitable for industrial type uses to be an industrial district. So you do have to pass that test when you add additional territory. In this case, really with that ordinance just passing tonight, 100% of the territory is zoned and suitable for industrial. So that is allowed under statute. And then the second thing that it is changing tonight is a modification to the project costs that were within that original project plan. So I'm not going to go through each one in great detail as to what was in the original project plan and what's happening going forward. But the intent is really going forward to only spend new money on capital projects. So really what's the schedules within your project plan are doing are truing up the costs to date with what was in that original plan and then building in those future costs. So those future costs are capital projects. There's detail in your project plan, but I'll run through just what those capital projects are that are planned here. So it's an extension of Tower Drive. That total project is estimated to be around $5 million. Regional stormwater ponding, that's estimated around $1 million. Kellum Road resurfacing, estimated at $500,000. Hemlock Road urbanization, that's a $5.5 million project. Kellum Road extension to Hemlock Road, that is a $1 million project. And then stormwater pond dredging is estimated at $1 million. So those are really what the future costs are here going forward. The original project plan did have a line item for developer incentives. Those were related primarily to the Generac project. Those have been spent to date, and we're really zeroing out that line item with this project plan amendment. No additional developer incentives intended for the remainder here of tax increment district number 7. And then just giving you an idea here on the economics of the district, we did build in some known future value coming onto the district. Primarily, there are 2 properties that have already seen an improvement that just haven't been fully assessed yet. That full assessment will hit for January 1, 26 values. That is the Generac facility, estimated to increase values by around 26 million. And then a cold storage facility that will add another 6 million. And then on top of that is the Apadon project, estimated at 72 million. That would come on for January 1 of 2028. So just a couple of years from now. In total, when this district is all built out, we estimate around 2.6 million in annual collections. And then when we look at the total revenues and total expenses of the district and try to project out when we would expect all those costs to be recovered, we do see that 2036 looks like the year that you would be in position to close this district. So that's 1 year earlier than the mandatory termination under statute, and even 1 year earlier than our planning model had shown before this project had been proposed here. And then with that, TIF amendments don't happen in a vacuum. It is a multi-step process. So this is really kind of towards the end of the process tonight. It did start with an organizational joint review board meeting. That joint review board is made up of the overlapping taxing bodies. They do get a say anytime that you're creating or amending a tax increment district. So that initial meeting did happen on March 25th. That same day, Plan Commission held the required public hearing for the amendment and then adopted a resolution. From there, it was forwarded to you all tonight for consideration. And if it passes tonight, that goes back to the joint review board for that final approval on April 21st. That's everything I had for tonight.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen.
Yeah.
Okay, then can I get a motion for purpose of discussion?
Public comment?
No. Can I get a motion? Alder Hiley
I'll make said motion.
and a second?
I'll second.
Alder Zob. Okay. What comments or questions do you have about this resolution? Alders? Alder Burnett?
Thank you, Mayor. I originally thought that this, the northeast property was not going to be in the TID. So the reason that we're putting it in the TID really is to help extend Tower Drive. Am I correct on that? I mean, shouldn't the businesses down on Tower Drive be that are in the TID pay for Tower Drive and not up by the northeast corner? I mean, I don't see why we need this property to be in the TID. I mean, we're not collecting any tax money off of it now. I would like to see us collect tax money off of it next year to go into the general fund. I can see adding the other properties to the TID, but this one doesn't really need to be. That's all.
Other questions or comments? Alder Gansky.
So prior to, I think I heard that it was going to be, we were going to be able to close it in 2036, 1 year early. Once we're bringing in this property, would we be able to complete all the projects in the TID without bringing this into the tax district?
Yeah, so to Alder Burnett's point, the project plan is really a possible list of projects and a possible list of sources of revenue for that project. For those projects, Tower Drive being one of them that you heard Harry talk about, a list of things that could be on that list. In many TIDs, the things that are in the project plan as potential projects don't actually get done for whatever reason. It's just an option. In addition, other projects can be done that aren't necessarily contemplated. In that project plan, you sort of reserve the ability to do additional things. Project plan is really just creating possible lists. If this project, the northeast acreage is not included in the TID, you definitely couldn't do the projects that were just described by Harry. You couldn't do all of them, and it's just a matter of what revenue is available. The other thing is, revenue that will come in is just a projection. You have to follow that as things progress to determine whether or not there is sufficient funding to do what was, again, a list of possible projects. So the less increment you generate by having less properties that are developed in the TID, the less you have to do the projects. If the increment that's generated exceeds expectations, you can either close early or do more projects. It's always it's really just it's a plan that has to materialize both in terms of the revenue coming in and the projects that are decided to be done.
If I could add to that, I just want to point out that the Joint Review Board, which is all of the taxing jurisdictions, when they reviewed this, that issue did come up, and they did talk briefly about the desire to close the TIDs as fast as possible. And so when they voted unanimous, one of the reasons for that is because they wanted the increment in order to close the entire TID and bring all of the value online.
Alder Flaherty, you had a question?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that I understood Attorney Konopaki correctly. That we're voting on something there's a lot of speculation and variable. Is this a leap of faith, would you say?
No, it's creating trying to create that in the TID process, you try to create as much transparency as you can with the other taxing jurisdictions about what might happen and what things might occur. Really it's driven to a great deal by what is the actual increment that's created in all the parcels in the TID and how do you dole that out to different projects. So it's really just a projection of what might happen if the revenue's there. And then you don't spend it until you get to the point where you figure out whether the revenue is there and you prioritize as with any other city budgeting issue.
Any other questions or comments?
Doesn't need to be in a TID. You're gonna hold.
Shh. Out of order. Any other questions or comments? Alder Wild?
What happens to these districts if we don't do this annexation?
I'm sorry, could you say that again, just a little louder?
If we do not annex these two parcels, what will happen to them in the future? How will they be distributed? Will they be available for purchase? What's going to happen with them if they're not annexed?
Yeah, I can. You want to? Okay, yeah, so the TID is really just a determination of where the tax revenue from increases in value on those parcels, where that money is used. So if it's not in the TID, as Alder Burnett mentioned, then if this project or some other project on these sites were to be built, that would immediately go on the tax rolls. And it would immediately go to and split between the tech college, the county, school district, the city, just like any other development that's not in a TID. The TID function is to capture that, in this case, for another 10 years, because we're halfway through the life of the TID. For another 10 years to capture that tax increment from all jurisdictions and use it for other projects in or near the TID boundary itself to further the goals of that TID to create economic development, whether that's improving the roads, potential land purchases for more projects like the Generac site where that was owned by the city and is, was sold or is transferred in exchange for that development that we had the agreement to be done. Same thing as this project that we're talking about tonight. So really the only difference of whether it's in the TID or not is for the next 10 years or 9 or 8 or 7 if we close early, where does that revenue go and what can it be used for? Is it going to be used to spur more development in that region of the city, or will it just be like, somebody building a house and on TID? Yeah.
Thank you, Larry.
Good. Alder Zopp?
So 2 points, but I'll start with the southern property. What is the projected increment on that? Is there actually increment that's projected to be gained from that southern property? I guess
I'm gonna defer to Harry if he's still here. I know that southern property was an effort to clean up a situation that was a little more complex with the lot splits.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure the motivation for including that site, but it is a fully developed site. Our projection doesn't account for any increase in value for that. So we would still expect the entire tax bill on that site to continue to go to all the overlapping entities as it does right now.
okay, thank you. So it's the school, the county, the tech college, they would all receive the same amount of revenue out of that. So we're not, you're saying we're not expecting an increment, but
if the value did go up, it would be retained within the TIF, but I don't think there's much of an expectation that value will go up.
okay.
And that's the key for everyone to understand, is that it's only the increase in value that is held within that TID for those purposes for that period of time. If you put a property in, you don't take the existing value and pull that into the TID. It's always just whatever increases after the TID's created.
And then, Larry, admin was talking about, the housing development and the need for, possibly a TID revenue to help with a upcoming housing project. Were we talking about, was that TID 7? Like is that our most likely healthy TID that's going to close early that would help us with that housing project?
Well, we have a couple of housing projects in the works. There's the one from last month where we did an agreement with the county, Eagles View.
Right.
And that one, I think the conversation has been to use the housing fund. Today, we had some staff conversations that maybe we would try to pursue using TID 6 to help pay for that.
Okay.
Another housing development is in the works, which would use TID 8, I believe.
Okay.
So neither one of them are relevant to the TID 7 discussion.
Okay, thank you. But that wouldn't, I guess that doesn't stop us from a future year if we needed housing revenue from a TID closing early. A healthy TID could be used. I'm understanding that correctly. So the healthier this TID is when it closes, the greater opportunity we have to invest in housing within the city. Okay.
Yes, I can confirm that. It's the last year of the TID that can be set aside into a housing fund.
Okay, thanks.
So the larger the TID increment generated, the more money that can be used.
Right, and this would be a large increment added to that TID.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Gansky.
Well, one question I have, I mean, when we're talking about adding a north side fire station, right? So at least some portion of the reason why we have to add a north side fire station is because the city is expanding to the north, of which this is part. So would that be a reasonable use of the TID not for the entire fire station, obviously, but for some portion of it. And I don't see it in here, so that's
Yeah,
part of why.
we're disallowed by statute from using TID funds for that kind of public building. Once the TID closes and timed correctly, that could be a good opportunity to help to mitigate any kind of tax impact to citizen, to property owners in the city if TID 7 can be when closed, that new taxes that would come back to the city for regular general purposes could be used for that in part.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I guess we're ready to call the roll.
Burnett,
No.
Paris,
No.
Fisher,
Aye.
Flaherty,
No.
Yansky,
Aye.
Hiley.
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
No.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yeds,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Bierman,
No.
Bonnet.
No.
So did I count 6?
We have eight ayes and 6 noes.
Okay, so the resolution passes. Next up, resolution 19.
Resolution number 19-2026, a resolution approving a development agreement for Klopp Madison, Wisconsin LLC and a purchase and sale agreement with Oppidan Holdings LLC.
Okay, and to introduce this resolution, Trent, did you want to speak to this one?
Good evening. Thanks for having me. It's good to be with you tonight as you consider the agreements related to Oppidan's proposed development. The city attorney, Larry, is available to answer any questions you might have regarding agreement language. And I would invite Larry to weigh in on any gaps he finds after I address project terms with you guys. I want to walk through items tonight. We had a pretty thorough discussion a couple of months back. I want to walk through items that have remained the same since that conversation and others that have evolved since that introductory talk a couple of months back. We continue and have continued to work with Oppidan Holdings on the potential project. As you'll recall, Oppidan is a Minnesota-based entity with an extensive background in the development of edge data centers. And these edge centers are far smaller in size and scope than hyperscale centers. Drew Johnson, Senior Vice President of Development with Oppidan, has been good enough to join us this evening. He'll be available to answer any questions you might have, company-specific operations, things of that nature. And I believe Drew is going to make a couple of introductory comments when Larry and I can get through the introductory phase of this. I want to start with process. Back in February, we noted that no NDAs related to this project had been signed. That continues to be the case. And in the approximately 2 months that have passed since the proposed project was discussed in open session, alders have had the opportunity to research and listen to many views on the development from an array of community members. With that, I want to move into the project terms. And again, those that remain in place, others that have evolved to some degree. So the proposed site and related location remain the same. It's an approximate 90,000 square foot building. It would be constructed on currently city-owned land and property located at the southeast corner of US Highway 151 and Kellam Road. And just visually, that potential lot would sit between the Generac and Meta sites. The proposed lot size ended up at 13.14 acres. That's virtually the same as what we discussed, Todd. I think hundredths of an acre difference, and that was related to and stormwater studies and related needs. The facility still intended to be built with precast panels in terms of type of construction. And as we previously discussed, the proposed site would be purchased at a cost of $31,000 per acre. That's a little over $407,000 in total purchase price. That's the asking price. $30,000 an acre is ask for that development. They'd be paying ask and an additional $1,000 an acre, which would represent a cost sharing of a brokerage agreement with CBRE. It continues to be the case that no TIF incentives would be provided to the developer. That was an important element of our conversation, and that remains a constant. The developer will be providing a minimal taxable guarantee, as we had discussed, and that's equal to $450 a square foot in terms of valuation of building construction and $31,000 per acre for the land, as we've discussed. Based on those elements, the guarantee would total just under $41 million in terms of taxable value. So a lot of things remain the same. One notable change, and it's not really in deal terms, it's valuation. And Kyle is here tonight, and we've been working with Accurate Appraisal. The more they can study actual construction plans instead of concept, the more they have access to comparable values of other projects. They've been able to really sharpen the pencil on assumed valuation of these types of properties. And they've increased their projected assessed value for the property to approximately $72 million. We were talking at our last meeting about roughly 41 million, so a significant bump. Using the 1760 assessed rate, not the equalized TIF rate, different rates, okay? That would yield just over 1.267 million a year in annual property tax payment. That guarantee would stay in place for the life of TID 7. As security, the city would have property special assessment rights if the developer were to non-perform in any way on that guarantee. An additional guarantee would be in place with an agreement exhibit that requires the property to remain taxable. That agreement would last for the TID plus 20 years in terms of not being able to be a tax exempt property. A highly beneficial additional term. So negotiations on this went from that early February date, both parties trying to find win-win solutions. And a really big additional term that has come to fruition is that the developer, in addition to those land sale proceeds at closing, would agree to fund $6.5 million. Again, in cash at closing. They would be used primarily for the Kellum and Hemlock Road construction projects that you guys have already been discussing tonight. That number matches Todd's total engineering estimate for the combined project. This doesn't have a repayment. Okay, there's no hook on that. It's not pay-go. It's not going to be granted back through their property tax collection. That is a payment at closing in addition to the land sale cost. That's going to eliminate the need for some future borrowing for projects. I trust that when Harry continues to compute and run numbers with city leadership, that's going to give increased optionality and almost assuredly close the district even sooner if you pull out those kinds of numbers as a borrow with interest carry and all those different things. That's great news. Makes this project far more valuable. And that 6.5 million fronted, that's tangible now value. Okay. Also note, those projects were part of the city's infrastructure plans for that area, Oppidan or no Oppidan. Okay, we've talked about the need for other outlets for truck traffic, pinch points, multiple forms of ingress, egress, our own fire protection for the various businesses that are in that park. So it really was a when, not if. I know it's been Todd and city planning desires that those are really some of the primary routes that they wanted to see done at some point. Those projects would have to be funded by 31 based on the expenditure limits of the district and deadlines. This project and this contribution will be able to do that and eliminate the need for city future borrowing in the amount of $6.5 million. Summary on terms, and we'll get into some other project elements. You have an asking price land sale. You have no TID incentives payable to the developer. Nothing's coming back out to Oppidan or its single purpose entity, as Larry can address when he speaks to the agreement. You have a minimal taxable value guarantee approaching $41 million on a project that's likely going to blow that away with valuation of in the neighborhood of $72 million. And you have a developer payment of $6.5 million at closing to pay for Kellum and Hemlock Road construction projects and eliminate the need to fund that in alternative ways in the future. Those fundamentals are incredibly strong. No matter how you look at it, no matter what your feelings are about uses, from a business perspective, it is pretty hard to argue that those aren't really, really strong fundamentals in terms of the economics and the business structure of the deal. Moving into other project elements, as we discussed at the February meeting, Alliant Energy has provided a will serve letter for the proposed project. They've also assured that the project would not have an adverse impact on existing or future customers. The project's energy use would be a small fraction of that used by a hyperscale data center, a very small fraction. And it should also be noted that the proposed project would be subject to existing tariff rates, not negotiated payment structures, not elements that would have to go PSC approval. These are going to drop in existing tariff structures in terms of how they're going to pay and what they're going to pay for energy. Water. The project's potential water use has been studied by the city's utility. It's been studied by its outside engineering consultant. Existing plant capacities and infrastructure have been deemed fully adequate to handle the projected use levels. Jeremy is available if you guys have drill down questions tonight after we work through these introductory comments. Stormwater, another element that we talked about back in February. Those needs have also been studied by kind of a trio, the developer's engineering consultant, Todd, the city's outside engineering consultant. All of those parties are in agreement on a concept of how existing and future facilities will manage the projected stormwater. The city continues to not have responsibility from a cost perspective for any stormwater management costs that would be a part of this project, present or future. And I'll certainly defer to Todd if people have questions on how they came to those conclusions and the combination of existing park facilities, newly constructed facilities that the developer would undertake. Next, in February, we talked about a due diligence tour of an operational like facility. Mayor Mark and Alderperson Hiley were good enough to commit the time for a recent trip to Iowa to observe such a facility. Appreciate that. The reviews I heard were favorable, but I wouldn't pretend to put words in the mouth of either. And maybe when we get to the discussion part of this, you guys can weigh in on what you witnessed, the realities of a fully operational like facility that is based off the same prototype of the one that would be built in Beaver Dam. Another element we talked about were administrative costs. The developer committing to pay for project-related attorney and administrative fees. That remains an element of this deal, and actually it's my understanding that such an agreement has actually been executed and a deposit is in place. So those costs won't be borne by the city throughout this process. Site demolition activities would continue to be the responsibility of the developer. Larry, I believe the house itself was part of a fire training exercise, so one last building on the demolition front, but those responsibilities would fall to the developer. As we discussed previously, the developer would be allowed a 120-day due diligence period to determine if the proposed project is feasible. They still have work to do to make sure that everything lines up and this is a project that will move forward. 2 conditional 30-day due diligence extensions could be granted per agreement if needed. We talked about that brokerage incentive. CBRE would be due a $3,500 per acre brokerage fee. That would come out of the land sale price. Again, the developer has contributed $1,000 per acre to that number. The rest would come out of land sale proceeds. Those are the elements we talked about in February. Those were the business terms we talked about in February. Most of them remain as we had discussed, but there have been modifications and certainly enhancements and added value to the project. And I look forward to answering any questions you guys may have going forward. With that, I'd like to ask Larry for any comments he has or gaps he wants to fill in on the agreement. Then I'd like to welcome Mr. Johnson to the podium to say a few words, and then all of the parties that we've been discussing over the last few minutes are available for any of your questions as you deliberate potential action on these agreements. So thank you very much for your time and consideration.
There weren't many gaps in what Trent just provided. I would say that the development agreement and the purchase and sale agreement are very similar to in structure to what we've done in past agreements. Trent has pointed out the differences. In particular, generally, we have to secure the promise of payment of taxes, and in this case, instead, there's an upfront payment. So it's even more secure in those ways. I'd be happy to answer any questions about anything any of you saw in those agreements, but they're very protective of the city. There isn't risk to the city as far as the financial aspects of the project. I guess I'd leave it at that.
Any questions for Trent or Larry? Alder Flaherty.
Curious question, just for my own purposes. You said accurate. I did receive the updated numbers on this project, and they do look very, very good. I can't deny. Mr. Campbell points out the terms look very good. He's right. How did Accurate suddenly arrive at those new numbers that look so wonderful?
Yeah, fair enough question. So it goes back to what I was saying. This type of use is not a traditional use with a bunch of book value in the state of Wisconsin, right? It's a newer endeavor. So when it was just concept plans, rough square footages and things of that nature, they hadn't had the benefit of seeing actual construction plans. And they also hadn't had the ability to see other comparable costs on other projects start to play out. When those elements came in, they could get to more real numbers. And I will say, with the size and the scope of the project we're talking about and the largeness of these numbers, there is no room to be overestimating anything. Can you imagine coming back to this body and having this thing flipped and saying we started at a high number and dropped to that. So there is always, look, we always have an element of under promise, over deliver. It's just smart business. And in this case, you wanted to mitigate any risk associated with this, be ultra conservative. And we always are in our projections, as I think you guys would attest to on projects large and small in the past. But with this in particular, and these kinds of numbers, there was a conservative mindset. We made sure that we were at baseline numbers and the only news changes would be good. And that happened, and that came to fruition, and that would be the why as to how numbers changed. You bet.
Any other questions? Alder Gansky.
Yeah, looking at the agreement in the section on wastewater, I just had a couple of questions on that. It's 25 to 30% of water usage, so I guess if you could elaborate on the difference there, like, is that evaporation or where is that water going? And then also, it says, be wastewater without chemical additives. Does that mean that there's no additives used by the facility, or that the facility is somehow treating that water and taking those out before discharging it?
Sure. So as far as the chemicals, yeah, what they provide is they will not be using chemicals. And yes, the 25 to 30% is because of evaporation with their cooling systems. So.
Actually, Jeremy, could you?
I'll
So
do that.
state laws looking at things like monitoring and reporting water usage, right? It's not law yet, but they're talking about it. Are we set up, or is Oppidan set up to monitor usage and report if necessary under potential state future law?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they would be metered. They have in the agreement, any change from what their proposed usage currently is, they would have to come back to the city. But yeah, reporting and monitoring, that is something we, are doing on a regular basis with all industries anyway. And so they're, just for example, their peak monthly average is 6,000 gallons per day with a peak day of 54,000 gallons per day. So now it's seasonal fluctuation. It's based off from temperatures. So you can maybe speak a little bit more on that too. So, but yeah, no, they would be metered, and most of this is because of their cooling system, is what the water usage will be for. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Alder Olson.
Yeah, I guess Mayor, you went and toured a facility and spoke with some of the legislators I'm guessing the mayor of that city. Just curious as your experience of that trip.
The facility, to be honest, was a little underwhelming. It was pretty basic, not particularly large. When we pulled up and later on when we walked around on the outside, I couldn't hear any sound from the inside. It's somewhat noisy in the data rooms, but I'm not sure if it's the construction or the insulation or whatever, but I did not hear a significant amount of noise on the outside. They did say they do have at this facility, they had two large sort of room-sized generators on the outside of the plant, which are just there for if there ever is a power outage. But they said that in the vast majority of years, they don't use them other than they're required to run them for 2 hours once a year to get them recertified as, useful or whatever, pass inspection. The facility that we saw in Des Moines is actually close to some residential areas. They actually have constructed a berm between the facility and the homes, and they said that they do notify the homeowners when that testing period is going to be, when the generators will be loud for 2 hours once a year. So that and they do it during the day when they figure most residents aren't home, but that's the one time of the year when it's loud for a brief period, or if there's a power outage. Alder Hiley, I don't know if you want, and when they talked about water usage, they also talked about how they use Des Moines city water and city sewer And they discharge directly into the Des Moines wastewater, and they don't have to have any special permits. They don't have chemicals in the water. What I found really interesting is the facility is designed so that many days they don't use any water because they have big louvers that they control because a lot of their cooling comes from the outside air. So like the day we were there, it was a cool day. And so they weren't using any water at all because they were strictly using the outside air, that the plant is designed so that they draw air in and then it goes up out the roof. So water usage varies greatly depending on the outside temperature. Alder Hiley, I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
Unfortunately, she covered everything. I was kind of hoping she didn't, but she did. So thank you. Again, I had the privilege of going down there and seeing the facility. Who was there was a representative from Abaddon. And then along with the tech support people with inside the building. So I got hands-on experience talking to them and asking them questions about how does the city water work? Have you had a problem? Do you have complaints? And I just really honed in on those questions that, as I'm called an uninformed alder, to ask those questions that the city does have. And I did ask about use. And the thought that I saw was, it is a building, right? Secured building. I wouldn't have known what it was. Concern of energy use, construction, how it's going to affect the community. I still can't find negative answers to Abaddon being our next business out there. What I do realize in my searching and studying about hyperscale data centers is it is very common for an edge data center to be very close by. It reduces latency. It reduces the general other people using power to have access to the power in which they need. Again, we have businesses go without the use of being able to use, their debit cards, like Beth and Daisy a couple of weeks ago, unfortunately had where they had a latency problem. So it's very common for an edge center to follow suit with a hyperscale to prevent all of us to not have what we want at an instant gratification of my phone that I can text to you, I can snap you, I can Facebook Live you. One of the reasons why we would go with something like this is to prevent the latency for us to have what we want. Again, the coolest thing I thought was they are in Wisconsin. We're a cold city, cold state. They do use a lot of air that comes in the cool instead of the water. So they literally were running on no water, and I got to see that. You could see the meter, they were pulling in no water for the day. They're not full build out yet, so I'm well aware of that. I'm not uninformed by that either, so they're not at a full build out. But again, they use the resources in which they have to be the most economically friendly that they can with the water part of it.
Good. What other questions? Alder Burnett.
Thank you, Mayor. I got just a question for Jeremy again. You still here? Thanks, Jeremy. Compare the water usage between this Abaddon data center and a company like Kraft in town.
So Kraft, on a daily basis, they use approximately 300,000 gallons of water and are discharging slightly more than that. So yeah, this is significantly smaller than like a Kraft. So.
Thanks.
And Alder Olson, did you have another follow-up question?
Well, my first part was what the factory was like, and the second was did you have an opportunity to talk to community leaders about their community involvement? I mean, already I'm hearing about the money pledged to go back to the Kellum Road development, which in my mind is huge. I see the traffic jam that happens daily by the dialysis center sitting right there. And it bothers me that we have a health facility that's having a traffic jam go out past it. So if there's ever a problem, there is going to be an issue for our emergency workers to be able to help those people. So for us to have that additional outlet, I don't know how long I've been asking when is Kellum going to be extended out, and for that to be coming to fruition, and then for the business to step up and say, hey, we are going to help you with that. And $6.5 million, that's 3 streets. That's huge for the city of Beaver Dam. So if they're willing to pledge 3 streets for something that we've been asking for, I mean, personally, I've been on council, I've been asking for it for at least 5-6 years. That for me is huge. So what else are you hearing as a community partner that they were, how were they as a community partner from what you heard?
I'll be honest, we didn't talk to any Des Moines city leaders. I've spoken with the mayor of 2 different meta projects, which of course are hyperscale, much larger, more revenue. But both of those mayors were huge supporters of Meta being just outstanding community partners within their community. So, but I didn't speak to the mayor of Des Moines. Good. Any other questions or comments? President Yates.
Just more of a comment than anything else. We spend $1 million a year on road reconstruction. This would equal 6.5 years of road construction. It's going to be done in a short period of time. Plus, they don't have to step up and take care of the Rotary, but they did. Tell me how many businesses would do that and just say, we'll take care of you. Did I ask you?
Mr. Brzezinski.
Can I comment?
Alder Hiley.
So this was brought to operations about the Rotary, and I'll just clear the air. It was brought to operations committee, and I don't remember the time frame. And as soon as we knew about this happening, it was all of us that sat on operations had a concern about what was going to happen to Rotary and their building. That was the first thing that came out of our mouth. We did not want to see them displaced. We do not want to see Rotary go under or the lights. It was a Beaver Dam leadership project, probably the best class. Just kidding. If anybody understands the joke. We did not want to see them displaced. Abaddon is not the one who stepped up, and it's not them, to my understanding. It is Meta. Or is it Abaddon? Abaddon.
I believe it's Abaddon. And just for the record, this has been a point of discussion in terms of what will happen to Rotary lights with city leadership from the beginning, because we knew eventually that property was going to be sold to someone.
Correct.
And Larry has done a nice job of taking a leadership role. And so you're right, it's an issue that is of concern to the city, and we are very happy that Abaddon could potentially step up and help with that issue.
Okay. Well, again, I just want to say that the committee was very concerned about that property and what was going to happen, and that we made sure, and we wanted that to continue to happen. We even asked the city to take over finding them a place. We requested the city of Beaver Dam representatives to find a place for Rotary. We did not want to see them go without. So I appreciate them stepping up for them.
Very good. Other questions or opinions, comments? Alder Bierman?
I just want to take a moment and talk about growth. I'm not against growth by no means, but I'm against the wrong kind of growth. This land could be used to bring in business that employ hundreds of residents, good paying jobs, support families, strengthen our local economy. And it just comes down to priorities. We should be focusing on attracting employers to create real long-term jobs, strengthening our workforce and local economy, making smart, limited, high-value land, because at the end of the day, it doesn't grow jobs. It doesn't belong here. I'm committed to standing up for smart, reasonable development that puts people first and builds a stronger future for our community. That's what we need to be focused on. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I think I want to take a couple minutes to babble.
Okay.
And I say that facetiously, but really, this has been a serious issue for all of us and the folks in the community and everywhere else. And I was just thinking this morning, we in the city, we have staff who are paid to get growth. We heard some of it tonight from Trent and others, and their job is to find opportunities for us. We have other staff whose job is to determine the feasibility of what's being proposed or what options are there, and to determine the impact. And we have paid people, our engineers, our well, not consultants, but they're paid as well. But we have people who are on the city payroll who had to stand up and assess what does this mean to their area, whether it was water, whether it's energy, whether it's all of the other infrastructure. There are city employees who had to sit down and analyze every facet of this proposal. Then we have the city council who has to try to make a decision on what's right, what's wrong, what's going to come and bite us in the butt. And a lot of that is we have to trust who we use. When I would challenge some of our city leaders about a certain thing, it can be water, it can be fire, it can be anything. How do I know what they're saying they believe, or they just think we want to hear it? And I'm confident that in every example, they have to believe it to promote it. Then they tell me, they go to their consultants. Here's what we're looking at. Here's water usage. Here's energy uses. What does it mean? And they test it. So me, as an ignorant city council person, has to decide, who am I going to trust? Who am I going to rely on to make a decision? It's hard to hear where projects of this magnitude impact people. If you're the neighbor or you're whatever. And it's hard to hear that. So in my own view, it's how can I feel confident in how I vote that everybody is playing for the same objective. And I think that, you know, it's been frustrating for a lot of people. So, you know, as I said, it's my babble. And even in today and thinking, how in the heck am I going to vote? And I'm thinking, well, there's one dimension that nobody's ever thought about or mentioned publicly. And that is, we're talking about all this high data stuff and batteries and everything else. How do we know that the data center won't burn up? And if it gets on fire, how are we going to put it out? Because I can watch on TV, there's electric cars, they can't put them out in New York. So I called the fire chief. Holy cow, this hasn't come up. Oh, no, we're ahead of this. We have the research. We know what the strategies are. We know how other companies handle the removal of a fire hazard in a data center. That makes me feel good that as a city, we're looking at that kind of stuff in the full scheme of things. It's not just a money issue. It's a service issue. We heard earlier today in the comments, the jobs that are created, the economic impact. So anyway, I guess I just wanted to, as I said, babble, but to say this is not easy for anybody. But we got to trust that we have the people in line who's looking out for the best interests of the city. So that's sorry for that.
Any other questions or comments, Alder? Alder Zapp.
Comment. You know, there's 14 of us, right? So each of us represent roughly like 1,200 people in the city. And I've had the pleasure of, over the past month, going out, knocking on doors, talking with people in District 12. And I was lucky enough to talk with 51 different homes, right? I mean, I knocked on hundreds of doors, but I was lucky enough to get to talk with 51 homes in my district. And I asked them, hey, like, what's on your mind? I wasn't doing a campaign stunt or anything like that. I was like, hey, what's on your mind? You want to talk about, you know, the common stuff is you want to talk about the fire station, what to do with the old middle school, because District 12 circles the old middle school, or the data center. So I was sort of kind of putting that out when I talked with people like, hey, you want to talk about any of that stuff? Here I am. What I learned was about half had no opinion or no concern about the data center, right? Okay, so half, they wanted to talk about the middle school. They wanted to talk about lowering property taxes. They wanted to talk about the fire station, right? That's where they are. That's about half. And about another half were supportive of the data center, right? And I was like, wow, wouldn't have figured that given what we've been hearing. But that's where, you know, a good chunk of District 12 is. And what I heard was they're really excited for property tax deductions. Like the one gentleman had said earlier, they either work there or they want to work there. There are highly skilled IT people that I ran into while knocking on doors. They want to work there. Other people worked for companies that are either doing business with or want to do business with Meta, right? So that's where about the other half is. And then what does that leave? Two homes out of 51 asked me to vote no. Two. It's 4%. 4% of District 12 asked me to vote no. So taking all that in, right? We're representative governments. We're supposed to represent the will of the people. I went out and I listened. What I'm hearing is District 12 is for the data center. They're for the Meta, they're for the new one, and they're supportive of it. And that's what I'm bringing forth today, is what I've heard as a representative of these 1,200 people, is that they support what we're doing and they support data centers. So I guess on that, I mean, I think my other concerns about noise, water, power, that's all been alleviated from what I've heard tonight as well. So thanks.
Excuse me, Alders, any other questions or comments? Alder Perkins.
I'll be honest, I was kind of in the unknown area of where I was going to vote tonight. And I'm still kind of on the fence, but this was no different than how we did the previous one. I think we did a lot more research just because the community is getting involved, and I think that's a good thing. But I'm really impressed, like Alder's Bonnet said, and even Hiley and the mayor going down to check on Oppidan. I appreciate the report. There's a lot of questions that I had, and they've almost all been answered tonight. And I think everything that we have talked about, and all of these alders on this council, we're not going to try to make a decision that's going to hurt the citizens and the county. And I don't want that. And I think there is some unknown that I want to get clarified. Why did a well dry up? Right? Why are we having these issues? And can we resolve those? Because that does bother me. But at the same point, everything else that I'm hearing and I work for a non-for-profit, and we've had conversations with these companies and stuff too. I've had former student athletes of mine who work for Mortensen and have worked on several data centers, and their response on how things are done and how Meta and Mortensen and all these construction companies work together, it's next level. There's no BS. Everybody gets their stuff done. Everybody is learning the growth and just how good they are with their people and how smart everybody is in the room. They do calculated decisions. I've done a lot of research with that, and I've had the fortune of being able to talk to these people that are on the ground, whether it's an electrician or an engineer from Mortensen, et cetera. And tonight has just kind of solidified that for me, that we have done a lot of homework, and I know there's a lot of unknown, and I think that's the scariest part. And like Joe said, sometimes we just have to make a trusted decision for our people. And I agree with Joe. I trust our people that are directors of the departments. And I've only been on council for 4 years. This is coming 5, but I've learned a lot. But I will back that and say that the department heads of the city have been really, really great. So those are just my babbling thoughts, but I appreciate it.
Alders, any other comments? Alder Flaherty.
I would concur with one point that my colleague, Mr. Perkins, has made, that we don't know a lot about AI data centers or whatever kind of data centers are being put up. They're a very new technology. And in some of the articles I've read on them, they're called a speculative investment. Now, that kind of language makes me a little sweaty. I'm not going to lie. The proposal that Oppidan is making seems to be on the up and has good terms. That I can't deny. I don't want to make it so that my comments slight Oppidan, for seems that they've been diligent and they're trying to be good to us. But the fact that we don't know is troubling. We have no precedent to compare anything to. I worry that the people who are in favor may not fully understand the depth of impact that these places can have. There are well-documented cases in some cities of dilapidated soil and dirty water. We don't know that that's an every case scenario, but it is out there. They talk about tax breaks. Now, I'm not a finance major, but some have made the case that the large-scale data center that's coming in ahead of this one, and with such a large taxable value to it, could move some other variable numbers. And where we might see a reduction eventually, we may see an increase. Now, I'm still checking that out, don't quote me, but that's leading to some of my hesitancy personally. So tax breaks were mentioned as far as people being in favor. Job opportunities were also mentioned. I was made to understand that data centers have few wage employees and they require very specialized training. So I'm not sure how many locals would be employable at these facilities. I think anyone seeking a job opportunity while not totally dreaming, they're not being totally realistic. And I would extend that to business opportunities. I'm not sure how anyone locally would do business directly with Meta. They're a huge corporation. So I worry that there's something of a lack of understanding, even though I can see the good points to these projects, the economics and growth stimulus. A city that does not grow remains stagnant, and we don't want to be the land that time forgot. We certainly don't want to live in the past. But at the same time, I do advocate caution. I do trust in my experts, and I do think that they are diligent in what they find, but I don't place trust outside myself to where I set my own compass and barometer aside. And of course, I listen to my constituency as well, because that's why I'm here. I'm supposed to be their mouthpiece, 1,200 people. So I guess those are my feelings. This current proposal, I think, might be considered a lot differently if we hadn't had a horror show in here preceding it. But I am still creasing my backside on the fence. I don't know which way to go on this thing, but I'm leaning towards no for myself. Thanks, that's all.
Alders, any other comments? Okay, Alder. Oh, then I think we're ready to call the roll. Did we have a motion on the floor? Okay, we need a motion on the floor. I'm sorry. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Alder Hiley, and a second. President Yates.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Free,
No.
Fisher,
Aye.
Flaherty,
No.
Gansky,
Aye.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yuds,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Bierman,
No.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett.
Aye.
So the resolution carries. Next up, resolution number 20.
Resolution number 20-2026, a resolution approving an amendment to planned unit development number 1-2022, the Monarch Lakeview.
For this particular resolution, if I could get a motion to table. We were supposed to have a consultant from WDS who was going to speak to this change to the Monarch Development Agreement. However, she was unable to be here this evening. And
Y'all never know a single day of peace again.
okay. Okay, so we're gonna, I guess we don't even need a motion. I can just table it. So, but we are gonna table resolution number 20. Also, this came before the Plan Commission, and at the Plan Commission, asked for some additional numbers, and this consultant was gonna provide those numbers this evening. So, we will table that to a later date. So next up is resolution number 21.
Resolution number 21-2026, a resolution authorizing a professional service agreement for the 2026 Madison Street reconstruction project.
And let's see, Todd, were you gonna talk briefly about this one?
Sure. So this came through ops tonight. This is the construction services contract for MSA to inspect sewer and water on the Madison Street project. It did pass through operations with everybody in favor of it. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, so funding is coming from wastewater and water utility on the project. That's all been budgeted. So staff does recommend approval.
Okay, any questions for Todd? Excuse me, Chief Kreisinger, would you mind shutting one door, please? Oh, so could someone please shut one door? Yeah. Thank you. We have to leave one open, but. Whose rule? Yeah. So any questions for Todd? I know it went through operations. No questions? Then Vicky, I think we're ready to call the roll.
Motion.
Oh, we need a motion, sorry. Alder Olson
Proof is presented, please.
and a second, Alder Furry.
I'll second.
Thank you. Now we're ready to call the roll.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Ansky,
Aye.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins.
Aye.
Wild.
Aye.
Yuds.
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Bierman,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Curry,
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
The resolution carries. Next up, resolution number 22.
Resolution number 22-2026, a resolution approving changes to the City of Beaver Dam functional classification system.
And Todd, you want to speak to that one?
Sure, this also went through ops tonight. These are changes that WISDOT has proposed to some of our roadway classifications. They're actually coming up in categories from either local or collector roads to collector and arterial roads. So that puts us in a different class for funding that we can secure on some of these roads. So it's a positive change, to put it simply, I guess. So staff does recommend approval of the changes that are proposed.
Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Alder Bonnet. And
Resolution 22-2026.
thank you. And a second, Alder Bierman.
I'll second that.
Very good. Vicky, you want to call the roll?
Yansky,
Aye.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Bierman,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Hurry,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Flaherty.
Aye.
So the resolution carries. Next up, resolution 23.
Resolution number 23-2026, a resolution authorizing governmental responsibility for runoff management grants.
This is another one that came through apps tonight. The city's going to be applying for an urban non-point source construction grant through the DNR. That's for shoreline stabilization at Edgewater Park. As part of the application process, we need to pass a resolution that allows me to apply for the grant and administer it on behalf of the city.
Very good. Can I get a motion? Alder Olson?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you. And Alder Wild?
And I'll second that motion.
Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll take a vote.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Bierman,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Hurry,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Yansky.
Aye.
Resolution number 23 passes. Next up, resolution number 24.
Resolution number 24-2026, a resolution accepting a grant award from Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services to the Fire Department for the Cadet Program Gear Replacement Program.
And let's see, was someone going to speak to that? Or yeah, he was online. Oh, he still is. I'm sorry. I thought he, Chief, do you want to say a few words, or it is in your packet?
Yeah, I'm still here if you all can hear me.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so this is a grant that we've actually applied for a couple of years. It's been available. And so this year there was $75,000 worth of funding. And one thing we've been trying to raise funds for with our cadet program is to be able to buy them appropriate personal protective equipment. Everything that we have that they use currently is a hand-me-down from our employees, and so it's all oversized and doesn't really fit our cadets very well. So this was an opportunity to do that. Firefighter paramedic Anthony Kinsey is one of the cadet leaders, and he wrote the grant, and fortunately we were successful this year. So the grant will cover replacing at least 5 sets of gear for our cadets and some training props as well. So we're really appreciative of the opportunity, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, for purpose of discussion, how about a motion? Alder Zop?
I'll make a motion to accept the grant.
Thank you. And Alder Burnett?
I'll second that.
Any questions for the chief? Any discussion? Okay, let's call the roll.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Bierman,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Hurry,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Yansky,
Aye.
Hiley.
Aye.
Resolution 24 carries. Next up, resolution number 25.
Resolution number 25-2026, a resolution approving a Class B and Class C liquor license for El Campo Mexican American Grocery Incorporated.
For purpose of discussion, can I get a motion? Alder Hiley?
I'll make a motion to accept resolution 25-2026 as presented.
And a second, Alder Keel? I'll second that. Thank you. Vicky, do you want to fill everybody in, or I know Zach's? This went through admin this evening, so.
I can. So these are existing license holders. They're moving locations. So in this instance, we're just approving them at a new location. So Chief had no concerns either.
Good. Any questions, comments? Okay, let's vote.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Bierman,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Hurry,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Yansky,
Aye.
Kylie,
Aye.
Keel.
Aye. The resolution passes. And number 26.
Resolution number 26-2026, a resolution approving a Class B license to Vista Valley LLC. It's actually Vista Plaza.
That's a typo. And again, this went through admin earlier this evening. Alder Zopp, maybe you want to just speak to that quick?
Sure. The owners of Vista Plaza were present. They gave us a plan for what the bar location would be. They bought the building that holds, what is it, a fitness center and
Where the laundromat is on Spring Street.
yeah, laundromat on Spring. So they're looking to put a small bar in there to service customers that are using the laundromat or whoever's around there.
The fit, Anytime Fit or.
Anytime Fitness,
Anytime
laundromat.
Fitness and,
The massage parlor.
massage place. It's that little strip mall at
Yeah.
1626 North Spring.
Yep.
It's gonna be in the corner of the back.
Yep. So this is a Class B, meaning that this license is restricted by population. And Vicky,
Also heard back from Tracy that we do have one more left after this one.
okay, and is that the extra that?
She didn't say, I just
Okay.
asked if we had one.
So this is the license that is governed by population size. So we got confirmation that we do have a license available. The chief was looped in on this and did not raise an objection. I believe, Chief, you approved. Is Chief still here or?
Yeah.
Chief, you approved of the of issuing the license, and the city for Vista Plaza, and the city inspector will also be reviewing as part of the build out plan, because they would be building this bar, and I think they have like 60 days to actually get it constructed after we issue the permit or license. So I think that kind of covers everything that we talked about in committee.
So any questions for Alder Zopp?
Licensed bartender on premises. It's a full bar installation.
Yeah, actually, Alder Burnett asked that question to the property owners, and they said yes, they will have a licensed bartender operating at that facility. It would also be a limited hours facility based on when patrons would be using the laundromat and other businesses in that area. So this is not expected, or they did not plan this to be a bar that keeps bar hours. So.
Thank you, Alder Zopp.
Yep.
Okay. Then if there aren't any other questions, we need a motion. Alder Gansky
Motion to approve resolution 26.
and Alder Furry,
I'll second.
and let's call the roll.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zopp,
Aye.
Bierman,
No.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Hurry,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Yansky,
Aye.
Kylie,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
So the resolution passes. Finally, resolution number 27, a resolution updating certain position wages and job titles. You heard from Rachel King of WDS, or no, I'm sorry, acronyms, MGT, earlier this evening about the wage study that they did. Given that it is after 10 o'clock and what I believe is this is a complex and a very important issue that has some significant budgetary ramifications, I would entertain a motion to, no? Okay, then I'm just going to request that we bring this topic up at our April 21st meeting. So, and with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Alder Burnett,
Motion to adjourn.
and a second.
I second.
Thank you, Alder Bierman. Thank you.